Welcome to the Tips for Your 20s podcast. My name is Becca and I am here today to talk about everything alcohol and sobriety related. I am joined by the wonderful Emily, who has built a community online helping others that want to take the next step in their sobriety journey, as well as sharing her experiences with alcohol over the last few years. This was a really interesting discussion to have, and we spoke about everything to do with university drinking culture, the pressures of drinking in your 20s, and some tips on how you can cut down your alcohol consumption if that's something that you're looking to do. So I really hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you do, please make sure to tune in for next week's and hit the subscribe button. Hello and welcome to my podcast, Emily. Very nice to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to join you.
You're very, very welcome. I am so excited to be talking about all things alcohol, sobriety, the challenges, the benefits of not drinking, and the amazing community that you've created. So again, thank you for being here, and we'll get cracking straight away by talking all about you and your journey that you've been on. So do you want to explain a little bit about where you started in your sobriety journey?
Sure. So I started my journey 2 years ago in February. So 2021, February 21. And I feel like a lot of people in their sobriety journey will have like a moment. It's called like the aha moment, where you're like, oh my God, I need to stop. This is it. This was the moment that like peaked. And it wasn't the worst thing that's happened to me during my drinking times, but it was the moment that I was like, oh my God, like this needs to stop. I am going to be on a self-destructive path. Short version, I went out on a date, got really, really drunk. He didn't drink. I blacked out. He then asked me to leave. I was in a city that I didn't know. Didn't have any money. My phone was dead. Somehow got myself home. Obviously, this was during COVID times, so I wasn't really meant to be out. And yeah, I woke up the next morning after sleeping for 16 hours and I was just like, what have I done? Like anything could have happened to me. I could have got myself in a very dangerous situation. I was blackout. I didn't know where I was. And it was obviously all the people around me that I was then calling like drunk in a blackout, being like, I don't know where I am. I'm lost. Can you come and get me? And I was putting them in a very awkward, not awkward, but sad situation because they were trying to help me and I was just on this self-destructive path. So I woke up the next morning and I was like, that is it, I'm done. So I told everyone, I'm going sober, that's it, I'm done, I'm not drinking again. Obviously, they've heard it so many times before when I've woken up the next day, oh, I'm not drinking again, I'm not doing it anymore. But this time I was like, I can't, like, I feel horrendous, like the anxiety, because then I was thinking about the conversations I'd had the night before. What did I say? What did I do? Because I can't remember any of it. So I went sober, that was it, completely cold turkey. And then I was sober for about 6 months. And then I started dating a guy. And you know, when you start dating someone and you go for a few drinks, you get a bit more confident, conversation flows a bit easier.
Absolutely.
So I started drinking again 6 months later, but my relationship with it had completely changed. I wasn't blacking out. I was having one or two. So even though I did start drinking again, I was more mindful. I was like more sober curious. But then it got to the point where I was like, why am I doing this again? Like, obviously I wasn't getting stupid blackout drunk, but like it was affecting me a little bit. I was still feeling hungover the next day. I still had anxiety. I still don't remember all the conversations we had. And I was just like, I'm not doing this again. This is it. So December the 30th, 2021. Yeah. I was like, that's it. I'm fully sober again. So I ended the year sober, started the new year sober, and then all of last year I was sober, and now here we are, a year and a bit in.
That's amazing. And it sounds like your journey, it wasn't this one day overnight you did it. It's quite nice that you had a progression, which I think a lot of people think that when they need to go on a sobriety journey,
that's it, over forever.
Cold turkey, but actually the journey that you go on can take as long as you need.
It
can be
I don't think I was ready to go fully sober. Like I did the 6 months, but then I was like, oh, what if maybe I could try? And I did. And I'm very open the fact that I was sober and then I did start drinking again. And I think that's very good, to be very honest, that the journey isn't a straight line. It's not linear. But the thing is, it's not it's not, what's the word? It's not backwards. It's still forwards, because my relationship with it changed. My mindset changed.
I was going to say, so what were you thinking when you went back to drinking? were you aware of how much you were consuming? Were you aware of how you were feeling? Were you making sure to sort of reach back in, touch in with yourself and pinpoint those moments?
Yeah, definitely. And I made sure that I'll be honest, like the first time I did start drinking again, so I was dating this guy, and I said to him, I was like, I'm sober. And he's like, are you sure you want to have a drink? And I was just like, yeah, like it's fine. Like I'll be okay. I've been 6 months sober. And he was so like, not concerned. He was like, are you sure? Like I feel bad that it's me that's like, you're drinking with me. And I was like, no, it's my decision. I'm a big girl. And I did feel guilty the next day because I was like, I've done 6 months. But it probably would have happened at some point down the line because I wasn't fully done going sober. And I think that's great. I think that's massive growth, massive progression. And I'm glad that I did for those 6 months with him again. And then obviously to end of December, went sober.
Amazing. Sounds like, yeah, an incredible journey that you've been on, and something that I think a lot of people should take away with them, is to say that can be a long journey if it needs to be. And like I said, it wasn't overnight. And from this happening, at what point did you create your online community? I've been on your Instagram, you've built a following, and it's incredible what you're doing, and you're trying to help people as well. What point did you create that community?
Probably about a month after I went, no, like 3 weeks to a month after I first went sober. So it was Valentine's Day 21. And then I made it like 7th of March, I want to say. I think I scrolled back the other day. I think it's the 7th of March. I'm going to do like a little post for my 2 years of sober girl.
Oh, that's amazing. So people have really followed you through the whole.
Yeah, I've got some day one followers that are still follow me, still talk to me. When I had 30 followers, they were like one of my first ones.
And what did you post, sort of how you were feeling, or just your journey itself?
So I did like an introductory, like, hi, I'm Emily. At the time I was living in Cardiff. I'm sober. I was 25. Just like a little hello. And I was quite reserved at first because obviously I've got stories. I've got so many stories about my drinking and my traumas and my drama and all the situations I've got myself into. And at first I was very reserved, partly because I didn't want anyone who in real life knew me to see it. Secondly, I didn't want my dad to see it because he knew a lot of the stuff that's happened, but I don't think he understood the fact that I'm sharing it to thousands of strangers online. But then obviously over time my following grew and people were like, I relate, I understand, like, you're so vulnerable, I get it, thank you, I'm not the only one. And that pushed me to then be more vulnerable online and be like, I have done XYZ and I'm not ashamed, but it's built me to who I am, and it's put me on this journey, and it's made me this person compared to this person who I was. So yeah, I think posting all my vulnerability on there grew my following because so many people were able to reach out to me and be like, yeah, me too.
A lot of the time we can talk about social media in a negative light, but I think this is a real true way of showing how social media has actually helped you on your journey and helped other people too.
Yeah, it's held me accountable as well, because obviously I made the account 3 weeks after going sober the first time, was posting on it consistently for 6 months, and then I stopped. Like, you'll notice on my account there's a period of 6 months where I just didn't post. And it just wasn't fair for me to be like, oh, be sober, do this, and like sober quotes when I was still drinking. Like, that's not fair. So I went off. I just didn't post because I'm not going to lie to myself, and I'm not going to lie to the people that's following me. So I stopped. And then I came back and I did actually put a post saying I slipped up. I went back to drinking for a little bit. However, I've learned this from it.
And you know what? That's life. That's everything that we do. We start things, we stop things, and that's the authentic, real side of it. And for you to come back and say to everybody, this is what's happened, I think it says more about you and your personal growth than anything, because you were able to do that. I think it's really important to take a step back and think about drinking as a culture. And in your 20s, what do you think makes drinking such a big thing in your 20s, or what situations?
I think it's normalized so much. Like, you see these posts on Instagram, these memes and stuff, and it's like, oh, I'm so hungover, let's have a coffee and this and that. And like, you normalize hangovers, you normalize feeling shit, you normalize like going out drinking 10 shots and gin time and wine time. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. That's not normal. Like, if you actually take a step back and look at it, you're actually advertising and promoting yourself to give yourself anxiety, depression, illnesses. like mental health issues. Why are you normalizing that? And like, it's the norm for like you to go to uni and go to freshers week and get absolutely blackout drunk. Why? You're there for an education. And I know that makes me sound like I'm preaching like boring, but you've worked so hard to go to university. Why are you screwing it up and going to get absolutely blackout drunk in your first week?
Before I went to university, I hadn't had much to do with alcohol. I was very late to the game. I never went to clubs before I could, and I had never really experienced the alcohol culture. So when I went to university, like you said, that freshers week, it hit me hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot for my body. My body couldn't cope with it, but it was, like you say, normal.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. And anybody that wasn't drinking, you'd think, well, why aren't they drinking? They're boring. And this is the worst part of it, isn't it? And I was part of that. And I will say, yeah, put my hands up and say I was probably part of that group that thought anybody else not drinking was.
Well, and I'll hold my hands up and say that I was like always the last one standing on a night out, being like, why are you going home? Don't go home yet. And I shouldn't have done that, but that was the mindset I was in. I wanted to be the fun party girl that the night never ended. I always chased the end of the night, and the end of the night always ended up in someone's kitchen.
Absolutely. Well, a large part of your 20s, my family aren't massive drinkers, and so I didn't grow up with a lot of alcohol around, and I feel like that contributes to why before uni I didn't try it as much as I did. But I think I can imagine if you're somebody that grows up in a household where alcohol is present a lot, that could possibly influence your consumption in your 20s too.
Yeah, definitely. My mum suffered with alcoholism, so I was around it from as young as I can remember. But she always made a conscious effort to hide it. Okay. So I always saw it as a bad thing. And then that obviously caused problems between me and her. That I saw alcohol as a bad thing. And I know there's obviously some sort of underlying reason as to why I then went that direction. I'm sure that's something I will discover in months to come when I continue working on these inner things. But yeah, I was around alcohol a lot as a child, with my mum's problems with it. So I'm sure there is a link. There is a correlation somewhere.
There's definitely a lot of factors that can influence your drinking and why it's such a big part within your 20s. There's also a lot of pressure in your 20s to be part of the norm, which is that drinking culture, and to go out, like you said, to bottomless cocktails and drinks like that you go on holiday and you drink your whole of your holiday and things like that. And those pressures can have a lot. What can that do to somebody in your 20s, do you think?
I think that it can make them feel like they are normal and that it's expected of them. I think that it can also cause a lot of mental health issues early on, that you take into your late 20s, because you don't learn to deal with your emotions through like your early 20s. You start going through like your first proper relationships, your degree, getting like people around you on Facebook, like it's split between two people. It's people that have babies and get married in their early 20s, or there's the people that are then starting like their business, they're buying a house, and you're just like, I'm still partying and drinking. Like I can't. Do you get what I'm trying to say a little bit?
And there's a lot of pressures generally in your 20s, and so you can sometimes use drinking as a fallback to be like, this is who I am and this is how I go and have a good time and things like that.
And you're just basically like suppressing your emotions and not dealing with the things immediately. And then obviously in months to come and years to come, you're just like, whoa, I've got so much I still need to deal with. And it affects you mentally a lot. I think and then obviously being sober, you have to then address these feelings that you've suppressed sober, and it's hard.
100%. And what advice can you give to somebody who is being peer pressured into drinking, where they're actually thinking, this isn't what I want to do, but all their friends are saying, come on, you can do this?
I think literally just say no, because so many people will respect you. And when I actually first went sober, I maybe like a couple of months in, I started telling people like, nope, I'm not drinking. I'll come to the house party, I'll come out, but I'm having like soda and lime, or I'm having a mocktail. And then I actually had a couple of girls come to me like that are good friends that I used to party with, being like, oh, actually, I respect what you're doing. Like, you've made me think about my consumption. Like, I want to go sober, I want to do this, I want to follow your sober girl account. And then they questioned their relationship with alcohol, and some of them have gone sober since. But it just made people think about it and speak out, because everyone's like got this whole normal idea about it. But when you go against the norm, people are like, oh, I can speak out too, I've been feeling like this, but I don't want to be the first one to be seen as the weird sober girl. It's not. And like, I think as you get older, you talk about more serious situations. Like over dinner with the girls, you start talking about like, yeah, more adult conversations. And if you want to go sober, people accept it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's more people accept it than you actually realize. And if you speak out about it, you'll definitely open a few more people's eyes around you, and they will really see.
I agree. It's definitely setting those boundaries for yourself. And
Yeah.
I at the start of my journey, because I would say I'm probably at the start of my journey where I've overcome that hurdle of caring what other people think about me. For a long time, I was drinking because I didn't want to be called boring, and I was drinking because I thought I would be judged if not. And I got a lot of, well, if you're not drinking, why? What's wrong with you? Are you pregnant?
Yeah.
Questions like that, and I thought that's madness. So then I would just, for ease, just drink to fit in the crowd.
Yeah,
but I wasn't really acknowledging it.
You should think though, like, why are these people saying to you, why are you not drinking? Like, you consuming a liquid does not affect them. So are they projecting how they feel onto you? Because you're as a physical being is the one consuming the alcohol. That doesn't affect them. So why are they getting so, because they're the only one drinking? And in the head, deep down, they know that it's not
projection of their own insecurity towards alcohol in a way. Yeah, absolutely.
Projection. It's their own inner feelings as well, because what you do shouldn't affect how they feel, because you've set your own personal boundaries, and that's for your own sake, your own mental health, your own productivity, your own feelings. And yeah, it's you as a person. It's not up to them.
Definitely. And if somebody's at that point where, like myself, you made that choice, you've set the boundaries, and you're like, no, I'm not going to let somebody else dictate what I do with that towards alcohol, what benefits will I start to see from lowering my consumption?
You will have better productivity. You'll be more clear in your head. You'll also start filtering out like your true friends, because like the friend that's always like, why are you not having one? Oh, just have one. They'll filter off, because they'll keep doing their own thing and you'll do your thing. And at the end of the day, the only thing you actually have in common is drunk talking over a bottle of wine. Like, you don't really have a deep connection. So those friends will filter off. Your true friends will stay, and even if they are still drinking, they'll support you, and they'll be like, oh, I got you a bottle of alcohol-free Prosecco, here you go for the table. And they won't make a scene, they'll just make you feel included, and they're your true friends. And then from that process, you will feel in yourself like much happier, much more connected, much more grounded. And you will have bad days, but those bad days, you'll be able to like feel your emotions. And if it means you're not doing anything that day, you've just got to sit with yourself in silence and just think. That's okay, because at the end of the day, you're not waking up tomorrow with a hangover with 10 times worse feelings.
Absolutely. And sometimes we can wake up and we go, oh, I haven't got a hangover. But what you're not realizing is there's so many effects physically and what's happening to your body that you cannot see. And there's so many things that are happening. There's lots of podcasts which I might actually recommend with this that I've listened to recently, because we tend to think of the effects of a hangover and what that is, but what is that actually doing to our bodies, and how long does it actually take to recover? And a lot of people will be very surprised to the awful effects it has on your body that you're not aware of too. So yeah, definitely there are going to be lots of benefits when you stop drinking, or at least lower your consumption in comparison to what you are now.
Yeah,
I like to be devil's advocate on this one, and I like to talk about both sides and what could possibly be the negatives towards not drinking, or some challenges that somebody might face where you think, actually, is this worth it?
So there will be days where you just think, oh, could I just have one? Is it worth it? And you will get those cravings, and you will get, like, if you've had a really bad day at work, you might just think, oh, I'll have a glass of wine, which is what you used to do. And now you know that you can't. And you have to just remind yourself that it is always worth it to not drink. Like, you won't wake up tomorrow and think, oh, I wish I had a hangover. Oh, I wish I had a headache, because you've had an early night, you've slept it off. But there will be days where you've had a craving or a bad day, or you've been invited to a party and you just know that you can't because you're feeling like you might slip up. But it's okay to say no. And like, you might feel like you're missing out immediately, but in the long run, you're not. It's worth it to just keep pushing through. But there will be that bad days, and you feel your emotions. I maybe at the beginning more, a lot stronger than you would have whilst you were drinking, because your emotions are raw.
Exactly. It could be, we relate as well a lot of situations to alcohol. So like I said before, you go on holiday or on a Friday, after you finish work, if you've had a hard day, we relate a lot of those things to alcohol. And so then getting out of that habit, I think, is something that people might want to start to work on first, and catching themselves when they get to 5 o'clock on Friday going, I'm doing that thing where I think I need it when actually I don't.
5 o'clock on Friday was the hardest.
Really?
And especially like living in London now, even now, 2 years down the line, I finished work in London and I walk through central London, and there's all these bars and like glasses of red wine and like the smoking area with the heaters, and like people got cute little blankets around them. And I'm just like, oh, I would love to go join you guys. And I can, but I can have alcohol-free options. And I know it's not always the same, because that part of me still is like, oh, what if?
Yeah.
I know that I'm on this journey for a reason, and I know that it's my journey, and it's for me personally to get through this and to become the person that I was meant to be. So there are triggers around you all the time. It's hard. You just get through it, and you just know, you just got to keep reminding yourself.
I think as well, it's worth talking about the coping mechanism that people use alcohol for, because a lot of people, like I say, with 5 o'clock on Friday, they use it to cope for a hard day, or if they're going through a difficult time. And that can actually be one of the most, I think, high reasons as to why somebody cannot stop and cannot cut down their consumption, because they're using it as a coping mechanism. What can you expand on that and say anything about that?
So I used to make, at the beginning of my sobriety, and even now, I love plans the next morning. But right at the beginning, my first month, especially when I first went sober, I had plans every single weekend, every single Friday night. I would literally, like, Friday night, I'd be like, right, sober friend or friend that I knew wouldn't mind not drinking tonight, I'd be like, let's go to the cinema, let's go for dinner, let's go do a big Tesco shop, let's go for a drive, let's go to Starbucks. And then Saturday morning, I'd be like, right, who wants brunch with me? Who wants to go for a walk? Who wants to do this? And I had plans every single like peak time for a month. And I was so busy, but I loved it, because it meant that I had something to look forward to. It meant I had to go to bed early. And it also meant I spent quality time with people. And it also put it on other people to be like, oh, I'm seeing Emily on Saturday morning at 9:30. I'm going to go to bed early, and then we're going to have a nice wholesome walk together. And my one advice for avoiding the 5 p.m.s or the Saturday nights is make tomorrow plans.
That helps you to get to that point. You said before about as well going into the pub on a Friday, and you have a soda and lime. What drinks can you say are good replacements for alcoholic drinks that you have at the pub or something like that?
So I love a soda and lime, maybe because I'm cheap, and it's literally like some bars and pubs are free. They're like, oh, go and have one. Sometimes they're 50p, sometimes they're £1.50 in London, and I'm just like,
I can imagine the price of alcohol in London is extortionate. I'm Midlands, so I think we're probably okay.
I spent my like late teens to uni in Derby.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also Midlands. Yay. So I do miss the cheap prices of the Midlands. But yeah, I think soda and limes are my absolute go-to. Sometimes I will have an alcohol-free Recorderlig or Copperberg. They're nice because they are.
I've had that lovely. I like the Copperbergs. Yeah,
they're very similar. And at the beginning of your sobriety, if you're one of those, I didn't like people knowing that I wasn't drinking at first. I would put it in a pint glass, and you just look like you're drinking a Recorderlig, so no one questions you. What else would I have? I've yet to find an alcohol-free wine in a pub or a bar. In Tesco's you can get one, but I've not found one yet in a pub, which is a bit of a shame, because I would love a glass of wine like in that setting. Yeah, I'm a soda and lime girl. Like that's what I'll go to. And then sometimes they put it in like a fancy glass with like a lime and a straw, and you look like you're drinking like a gin and tonic.
Do you think that restaurants and bars are becoming more open towards it all as well?
Yeah, I think so. Especially like dry Jan over the last couple of years, I really think bars and pubs are pushing it, which is great because it's normalizing it. It's normalizing sobriety, and you haven't got to be pregnant to be not drinking, or you haven't got to be on antibiotics not drinking. If you don't want to drink, they're like, cool, here you go. Here's the alcohol-free menu, and there's no questioning. Like I've been in places before a couple of years ago when I went sober, and I would be like, "Oh, have you got any mocktails?" And they're like, "Sure, you don't want to like a shot of vodka? It's an extra £2." And I'm like, "No."
Yeah,
And and it just makes it a little
absolutely.
bit awkward. Like people that if they literally just normalized it, like I don't want to drink alcohol, like you say, and I don't eat meat, people don't question it.
No, exactly, absolutely. And I can just think on my own journey that I have been on. I've been on, for somebody who doesn't quite want to say no to people.
Yeah,
I've been focusing a lot on my sort of physical strength. I've been running a lot. And
yeah,
one of the things I say to people is, what's the point in me training for all of these things if I'm going to go and then drink afterwards?
exactly.
And it's pushing my progress back. So I feel like that's always quite a nice sort of reason to say to people, if you're wanting to focus on yourself and your fitness and your health,
Yeah,
saying to somebody, it's not going to make me feel good tomorrow and I've got a training session, nobody normally bats an eyeyelid at that,
yeah,
because can they say you wanting to better yourself and you're wanting
exactly.
to look after your body, and actually that's the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Off topic a little bit, but with like sports stuff, what's your opinion on seeing like either at people run a marathon and it's like offered like a free pint at the end of the marathon, or like when people say, "Oh, is it gin o'clock to like run and like?" Have you seen like the logos and stuff that combine alcohol and
Absolutely.
sports? I was
what
listening
what
to a day about
What I
it.
find the most frustrating is when somebody says that they're going to do exercise to earn
Mm.
their alcohol at the end. So you're going to do a gym session so that you can burn enough calories and things like that
Oh,
to have a drink, and it's so sad because that's again become normalized. Are you actually working on your body here to improve you physically, or are you drinking? Because I feel like that they don't come together very well, in my opinion.
no. And again, with alcohol being advertised everywhere as like a reward, like have you seen birthday cards? Trying when I first went sober, I was very, very careful to buy people birthday cards that didn't include alcohol on them, even if they still drank, because I didn't want to be like, I'm sober, but here's a birthday card with alcohol in it. Why are birthday cards so surrounded by alcohol? Like, why does it need to have a bottle of Prosecco on it? Why
Right.
can't it have a cute kitten or something? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, you think about buying somebody a present as well, who maybe you're
Yeah,
close to, and you think, oh, just easy, get them a bottle of wine or
yeah,
get them a bottle of prosecco. I mean, it's an easy option, isn't it? Really, and you have to stop yourself and think, actually, are they actually going to want this, and is it
yeah.
going to benefit them? Probably not.
I think it should be normalized more that you don't need to use alcohol as like an easy advertisement or an easy present. Like, be creative.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's worth saying to people as well that if yesterday you were drinking and you were doing all these things that we're talking about, and today you've made a decision to change, that doesn't take away anything from you. People can't change that. It's a growth journey, because I definitely thought, well, it was only a couple of months ago I was going out for a gin
Yeah,
taste experience, and now I'm wanting to make a change, and I think that's
yeah,
part of the journey, isn't it?
yeah. It doesn't matter if you decide you want to go sober tomorrow and then you slip up in a week and then you go sober again. It doesn't matter. It's your journey. It's not going to be linear,
Yeah,
but you're never going to go, even if you go back to, you're still more forward than you were back
100%.
then. So you're always moving in a progressive line somehow forwards.
It doesn't need to be an all or nothing.
Explain yourself either to anyone. It's your journey. If you know you're doing this for your own benefit and you're making your own progress and you slip up or you don't slip up, or it does not matter. You do not need to explain yourself to anybody.
I completely agree. I think this leads me to my last question, unfortunately, because I've really enjoyed this chat. But I like to leave people with something they can take away that they can do
Yeah.
today. So what one step could somebody take today if they want to start their sober journey? Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to wake up tomorrow and never drink again, but how can they cut down? What's something they can do today to help them cut down?
I would say telling people. When I first went sober, I did the typical, I'm going sober, blah, 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 and people didn't believe me. But the fact that I'd spoken about it and I didn't just keep it to myself, people actually were there and they're like, how are you feeling? Do you want to go out tonight? But let's go for a cinema, let's go to the cinema or something. And like being very open about how you're feeling in your journey and the fact that you are wanting to change something, people around you will make it be more conscious about making you feel comfortable and holding you accountable. And yeah, I think telling close people and being very open about it, and even making a sober account. You haven't got to post, you haven't even got to post your face, just watching other people around you do it around you and talk about their struggles or their feelings or their progress, it helps. So yeah, make an account and follow some people that are on the same journey and talk to people.
I love that. And I speak about this a lot with everything that you have going through your 20s. You're able to pick who's in your community. You're able to pick who you hang out with and surround yourself with like-minded people so that you can support each other. And if there's somebody that's not quite sharing the same values as you, yeah, exactly. You can unfollow, block them, and if they're family members, you can distance yourself. You don't need to talk to them about those things.
No, you don't at all. I told my dad about stuff in passing when things had happened, and then obviously I made my account, and it made us a lot closer because eventually he started seeing like the real vulnerability stuff that I was posting, and he was just like, thank you for being so honest, and like it's made us so much closer because now there's nothing he doesn't know and there's nothing that he judges me on because I'm being vulnerable and honest, and that's the things I went through, and now he understands.
That's amazing. Your journey has led you to an amazing community. What's next for you? Where do you want to take your community now?
So I'm actually currently doing a life coaching course. So I'm going to become a life coach. Just because I feel like I've got so much experience from my sober journey, from things that have happened before my sober journey, to how I've got to the person I was to who I am now. I want to help people more than just replying to a DM or being like giving them the basic advice. I want to be able to delve deeper. I want to help myself in this journey. I want to help other people. And I just think being a life coach can help, so not even just sobriety, because I want to be a mindset coach, and I feel like this positivity and this like direction and goals and motivation, I think I have so much to give. So life coaching by the mid 2023.
Incredible. That's not long.
No, I'm getting there and starting my course, and yeah.
Oh, congratulations. I was really excited to like share your journey with you as well. And if people want to follow, what's your community called?
It's Sober Girl Club.
Sober Girl Club, lovely.
And that's the same on TikTok.
And same on TikTok. Amazing. Well, thank you again for coming on to today's podcast. I really enjoyed talking to you. And obviously, all of the things that we're talking about, I'm able to relate to myself as well. But equally, I'm on this journey of I'm still drinking alcohol at the moment, but my consumption is lower. And we can all relate to certain parts. This isn't us saying you don't need to drink at all, but I think it's worth educating people and sharing the experiences too.
Yeah, and when you feel like you are fully ready to go sober, you'll make that decision in yourself. And the day you'll wake up one day and you'll be like, I'm done. But until then, it doesn't matter. It's your journey and it's your progress.
Amazing. Thank you again. I've really enjoyed it. And everyone, please go and give Emily a follow.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.